Hello all, a warm welcome. This is Saranya Venkatesh. Today we are going to see about Ramsar sites. The importance of this Ramsar sites now is, recently 5 more Indian wetland have got the Ramsar sites recognition as a wetland of international importance. So the total number of Ramsar sites in India currently stands as 54. Now we will see about what is a wetland. According to Environment Ministry of India, the wetland is defined as it is an area of marsh, fen, peatland or water, and the area could be natural or artificial, temporary or permanent, and the water in the area should be static or flowing, and the water can be freshwater, salt water or brackish water. It also includes the area of a marine water. Marine water has a salt water, so it also includes that area. And the depth of the area at the low tides should not exceed 6 meters. So this is the definition of the wetland. And what all the areas which does not come under wetland is, the wetland does not include the river channels, paddy field and the human-made water bodies. Human-made water bodies is, for example, which is specifically constructed for drinking water purposes, aquaculture, salt production, recreation and irrigation purposes. So these kind of areas does not fall under the category of a wetland. For example of wetland is marine and coastal areas, estuaries, lakes and waters, marshes and peatland. So these are the sites under wetland. Then we'll see about Ramsar Convention. So it is a convention which came into force in 1975. The main aim of this convention is to conserve and use the wetlands wisely around the world through the local and the national actions. It also includes the international cooperation to maintain the wetland. Since we maintain the wetland, we could achieve a sustainable development throughout the world. So this is the main aim and the mission of this Ramsar Convention. And it is the only international treaty that addresses a specific wetland ecosystem. So only for wetland ecosystem we have a specific convention. So it is the only convention, it is the only international treaty, that is Ramsar Convention. Then how this Ramsar Convention works is, this convention works on 3 pillars. The first is wise use. As we saw earlier in the definition, the first is wise use, to work towards the wise use of all the wetland around the world. The next pillar is list of wetland of international importance. So in the world, in the all countries, we will designate a suitable wetland under the Ramsar list to manage that wetland more effectively. The next is international cooperation, to bring cooperation internationally over the transboundary wetland, and also we will have a shared wetland and the shared species. So in those we will have an international cooperation. So what are the 3 pillars of the convention? Wise use, list of wetland of international importance and the international cooperation. So for a site to be declared as a Ramsar site, it must meet at least one of the 9 criteria. The criteria will be defined by the Ramsar Convention of 1971, and also that particular site should support a vulnerable, endangered or critical endangered species and also threatened ecological communities. It should support those communities, and also that particular site should support 20,000 or more water birds. So it will become an important source of food for fishers in ground nursery and also on the migratory path. So to declare a site as the Ramsar site, it should meet all these criteria. Then we will have a record called Montex record under the Ramsar Convention. So what is this record is? It is actually a mechanism launched in 1990, and it was associated with Ramsar Advisory Mission. This record actually consists of register of the list of those Ramsar sites that need urgent action. So those sites which need urgent and immediate action, so those sites will be listed under the Montex record. Then World Wetland Day will be celebrated on, the first it is celebrated in 1997. It is celebrated every year on February 2nd to mark the anniversary of a Ramsar Convention and also to promote its mission. What is the mission of the Ramsar Convention? To use the wetlands wisely through the local and the national actions, and also with international cooperation around the world. Then As like all other international organizations, this Ramsar Convention also has conference of parties to the convention which meets every 3 years. So this Ramsar Convention has 6 international organization partners. So what are they? The first is BirdLife International, IUCN, Wetlands International, WWF, International Water Management Institute, and Wildfowl and Wetland Trust. So these are the 6 international partners of Ramsar Convention. So latestly, this Ramsar Convention usually comes with a 6-year strategic plan. So the latest one is the 4th Ramsar Convention strategic plan of 2016 to 24, which was approved at Conference of Parties 12. So next is, this Ramsar Convention has a standing committee of 18 members that are elected. So those 18 members will be elected at Conference of Parties. Till the next Conference of Parties, they will be the members. So it has 18 members. And in what all the languages this convention works is, it works in English, Spanish and French. So these are the introduction about the Ramsar Convention. Now we'll see about the India specific convention. So when we talk about India and Wetland Convention, this Ramsar Convention entered into force in India on 1st February 1981. So from the year 1981, we have been conserving all our wetland around the world, around the country in India. So in India, the 4.63% of our total geographical area is actually a wetland. And in 2017, we have come up with the Wetland Conservation and Management Rules. So this is a very important conservation rules for the wetland. And also recently, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they have released a set of guidelines for implementing this wetland rules of 2017. India regulated the wetland of the wetlands which are in the Ramsar list and also other wetlands under central, state and the union territory rules. So India has conserving the wetland which are under the Ramsar sites and also the wetland which comes under the center, state and union territory rules. So now we'll see about this rules, Wetland Conservation and Management Rules of 2017. The provisions of this rules is, the first is of constituting a state wetland authority. So we'll have a specific state wetland authority and a national wetland authority. So what is the mission of this state wetland authority is, the state wetland authority, it will develop a list of activities to be regulated and the list of activities to be permitted. So what are the activities which have to be regulated and what are the activities which have to be permitted inside this notified wetland? It will be developed by the state wetland authority. And also it recommend the prohibited activities. So which are the activities which should not take place in the wetland? So those activities also recommended by state wetland authority. It also defines strategies for the better use of the wetland. Also it recommends measures for its conservation and also it raises awareness among its stakeholders and local communities. So the next is the setting up of a National Wetland Committee. This National Wetland Committee will replace the Central Wetlands Authority, Regulatory Authority, and the National Wetland Authority and the committee is headed by the Secretary to Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So what are the missions of this National Wetland Committee is? First, this National Wetland Committee will monitor the implementation of these rules. Then it will advise the central government for the policies and actions for conserving the wetland. Then it will recommend the designation of particular sites as a wetland of international importance under Ramsar Convention. So those sites under Ramsar Convention, it will be recommended by the central government, that is National Wetland Committee. Then it will advise collaborations with international agencies on related to issues with wetland, conservation of wetland and sustainable development of the wetland. Then the major thing is, when we talk about wetland, we should also know about what are the threats to the wetland. So According to IPBES, that is Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, they have said wetland are the most threatened ecosystem. So it should be conserved. So the major threats of the wetland, it will be the degradation activities like drainage, landfill, pollution, hydrological alteration and the over-exploitation of the land, which will result in loss of biodiversity and disruption in ecosystem services provided by the wetland. So because of these activities, we will lose all the ecosystem services which will be provided by the wetland. So these are the threats to the wetland. And also, UNESCO recently said, according to it, the threat to wetland has an adverse impact of 40% of world flora and fauna. So the wetland supports 40% of world flora and fauna, and now it will be in adverse impact because of these threats to the wetland. So what are the newly added wetlands? Recently, 5 sites have been added to the wetland. What are they is? The first is Karikili Bird Sanctuary, Pallikarnai Marsh Reserve Forest and Pichavaram Mangrove. These 3 are in Tamil Nadu, and Sakyasagar in Madhya Pradesh and the Palar wetland in Mizoram. So now India has 54 wetland and it is one of the most wetland according to South Asia. So in South Asia, India has the largest number of wetland, and in the world, UK has the largest site which is 175, then comes the Mexico 142. Then when we speak about the area of the wetland, Bolivia spends the largest area which is 1,48,000 square kilometer under the convention protection. So Bolivia has one of the largest wetland according to the area. Largest area of the wetland is higher in Bolivia. And the largest site is in UK, and the next comes the Mexico, which has 142, UK has 175. So these are the things about the wetland and the Ramsar sites. I hope you understood this. If you have any doubt, leave your comments in the comment section. Hit the like button and share this video with your fellow UPSC aspirants and subscribe to Get Into IAS. I'll see you soon in the next video. Thank you so much. This is Saranya Venkatesh.